Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to tackle a piece of language learning advice that you've probably heard 1,000 times. But here's the thing. Is it actually true?
Yeah, this one. We've all heard it, right? That learning vocabulary from a word list is just, well, old-fashioned, totally boring, and that it just doesn't work. It's pretty much become the conventional wisdom in language teaching.
But what if that whole idea is just plain wrong? What if it's all a big myth? In this explainer, we're going to dig into the research and see if word lists really are the villain they're made out to be.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with the myth itself, then jump into a really surprising story from a teacher. After that, we'll see what the science actually says, figure out which words are even worth learning, and finally, wrap it all up with a balanced, smart approach.
Okay, first things first. Let's get to the bottom of why word lists have such a bad rap. I mean, where did this idea even come from?
Well, as teaching philosophy started to shift towards focusing on, real-world communication, the old-school methods that used a lot of lists, think grammar translation and audiolingualism, they got pushed to the side. The new thinking was that learning a word without its natural context was basically a waste of your time.
Now, let me tell you a real-world story that kind of puts a crack in that conventional wisdom. This comes from a teacher workshop in Japan way back in the early 90s.
So you've got this expert in second language acquisition, and he asks a room full of Japanese teachers of English a really simple question. How did you guys learn English? And the answer he got was, well, it was fascinating.
After a bit of awkward silence, this one woman with absolutely flawless English pronunciation shyly puts her hand up, and she admits she learned using the audiolingual method. You could tell she was almost apologizing for it, expecting the expert to tell her why this old-fashioned list-heavy method was so bad, even though, it had clearly worked wonders for her.
And this just perfectly illustrates the power of a popular myth, doesn't it? This teacher was literally doubting her own success because it didn't fit the trendy narrative. It's just like in the story of the emperor's new clothes. Once an idea becomes dominant, it's really, really hard for people to challenge it, even when the evidence is staring them right in the face.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. It turns out that scientific research actually backs up that teacher's experience, and it directly challenges this whole anti-list assumption.
Okay, so first we have to make a really important distinction. A lot of the early psychological research on lists had native speakers trying to remember random words they already knew, like spoon, car, blue. That's just a test of short-term memory capacity. Learning a language is a completely different ballgame. It's about connecting a new word, say kuruma, to a concept you already know, like car, and storing it for long-term use. They're not the same thing at all.
So what happens when we actually study language learning? Well, a major study back in 1997 looked at how well learners remembered words presented in different ways, and the results were kind of a bombshell. Learners remembered words best when they were simply given them in lists with their translations.
And that is the huge takeaway. It's totally counterintuitive, I know, but for that first initial stage of learning a word, less context actually led to higher retention. See, when you're just trying to make that first crucial link between a new word and what it means, too much extra information in a big paragraph can actually be distracting.
So the verdict from a whole range of studies is pretty clear. For beginners and students who aren't as proficient yet, lists can be even more effective than trying to learn from context. Think of it as a powerful first step that gives you a solid foundation, which you can then build on through reading and listening. And here's the kicker. There's basically zero evidence that this method is harmful in any way.
Okay, so if lists are actually a useful tool, the question changes. It's no longer if we should use them, but which words should we actually put on them, right? Because we don't want to just learn a bunch of random words. And this is where it gets really powerful. Linguists have already done all the hard work for us, creating these amazing data-driven lists based on how often words are actually used. For general learners, you've got the General Service List, the 2,000 most common words. If you're a student, the Academic Word List and the University Word List are game changers, focusing on vocabulary you absolutely need for academic success. These are incredible tools to guide your learning.
So how do we pull all of this together into a smart, modern learning strategy? How can we use this knowledge without falling back into some of the old traps?
The key really is balance. Use lists with a clear purpose as an efficient first step, but, and this is important, don't let them be your only tool. You've got to combine this focused, intentional learning with lots of rich, contextual stuff from reading and listening. And hey, listen to yourself. A lot of learners actually like lists because they give you a clear, measurable sense of progress. And that is a huge motivator.
So the next time you hear someone write off word lists as some kind of outdated relic, you'll know the real story. They're not a magic bullet for sure, but they are a scientifically backed, powerful, and really efficient tool to have in your language learning arsenal. The only question left is, which words are you going to learn first?